for those of us that are either, I guess, pitching this to businesses, or for people within businesses looking to make that decision themselves and perhaps make the case for it to stakeholders and peers within there, how do you prove the value behind these sorts of results? So why don't we start, Sophie, with that sort of, I guess, that safe space and that repetitive tasks and those kind of things, and actually that sort of practice element. How do you prove that when you're looking at showcasing the I guess the impact of your experiences?
Yeah, so traditionally soft skills have been notoriously difficult to measure and evaluate progress with, but with something like XR technology or things like AI that you can integrate with the XR technology, people are able to quantify their progress and measure their soft skills in a quantifiable way. So it's no longer just somebody saying, oh, I think I've improved. You've actually got some data to back it up now as well. So for example, some of the things that we can measure are things like eye contact, use of hesitation words, pace, volume, tone. And before VR, there was no way that you could practice on your own and then get a score out of 10 for your eye contact, or if you've come across as persuasive or argumentative. So definitely one of the key ways that we prove the value of XR training is by getting up some of that data, so that, for example, you can see your score for each of those metrics the first time you enter VR compared to the last time you've entered VR, and that should be in a nice sloping graph.
Great. And how are you then approaching those? So Tom, for example, conversations from those sort of hard skills, and how do you quantify that cardiovascular response you were saying about?
It really depends. I mean, a lot of it is anecdotal. I mean, I would echo everything that Sophie said. I mean, it's absolutely, you can't kind of beat hard metrics in terms of, a group of people remember this and another group of people remember something else. There's been an awful lot of studies done on the effects of VR, not just on pure VR training, but also just the effect that the mode that your brain goes into as soon as you put a VR headset on. I think it was Stanford did a study with students, 3 groups of students. They sent one group to a live play. They recorded the play in both 2D video and also in 360 video. And they played back the 2 separate groups, one the 2D video and the other one the 360. And what they found was amazing. They found that there was a 40% difference in knowledge retention after 2 weeks between those that watched it in 2D and those that watched it in 360 in a VR headset. What was really interesting was, though, the people who watched it live were actually in the middle. So it was the same place, the same recording, same distractions. And so there's a lot of research now going into just how your brain actually works as soon as you go into VR. So I think we tend to talk to customers a little bit about that. We talk about anecdotal experiences, and we just show it to them. We let them use it, and they can tell very quickly. First of all, there's the excitement of using it, but it's also the fact that they just embrace it and they want to use it. The enthusiasm that they show within virtual reality actually is very, it's incredibly effective and kind of just showing people I want to use this and I'll learn more from it. So everything that Sophie said, but also just, I think, let people use it, let people play with it, and immediately afterwards they usually bought in.
Yeah, sounds great. And we know that's probably a challenge, I guess, we've all come up against it, right? Is actually one of the best ways to experience it is to try it, and one of the best ways to see the benefits of it is to try it and jump in there. But I think traditionally maybe access to these sorts of experiences have been kind of difficult. Lina, you mentioned some of the stuff you guys are doing there. How might you be able to go about accessing different solutions? Or if you're a business that's interested in potentially exploring VR, how do you maybe go about trying some of these solutions when you maybe haven't seen these things before?
Yeah, to be honest, one of the easiest ways to try VR in general is probably going to be, at one of those location-based entertainment. You can try a lot of the mainstream applications in general. I would encourage people to start with a very simple experience. Start with a game, feel it in a way that you're comfortable with. My first ever working day, I was actually put through one of the most famous experiences from my colleagues, which I did perceive at the time as a little bit of a, I know, it was hard first working day, but basically it was walking the plank challenge, so Richie's plank. And obviously you get into this elevator, you get to the last floor, and then the door opens and you need to go for a plank. And honestly, when you have a physical plank on the floor, I've never perceived myself as someone who is afraid of heights, but honestly, I had sweaty palms, my legs were trembling, I just couldn't do it. I had to remove it just because it was so impactful. So I would encourage people to try different things, just to explore, first of all, what the technology is capable of in general. And then in terms of VR training, unfortunately, I wouldn't say there's one place at this point where people can go and basically just try off the shelf what's available or demo anything. However, because we've seen that as a problem from our customers, we're trying to address the issue with this sort of a centralized location that I mentioned as an ecosystem that we call HoloHub. And the idea is that it's open for any businesses and any creatives to basically upload their radio applications. It could be existing ones, it could be new ones. And the idea is that you can really distribute it at scale and show people what you've done, but also manage all the different aspects in terms of content, in terms of the actual hardware, the devices, in terms of the users. I think it's one step forward towards actually finding one solution as opposed to maybe 5 different fragmented ones that currently exist.